Good morning to those of you who are joining us already. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes here and give everyone a chance to get signed on before we get started. So we will begin shortly. Thank you. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started just to be respectful of everyone's time this morning. I want to thank you for joining us for our webinar website audit checklist for 2024 with Clanin Marketing. Before I hand it over to Scott, just a few quick things. You will receive a follow-up email later today. It will contain both a recording of the session along with a link where you can download a copy of Scott's presentation. He'll also show that link in the webinar, so if you want to grab it before you get that email, please feel free. We also have a wide variety of community partners on today's session, so I will include links to all of their websites in that follow-up email so you can check them out. And hopefully for the last time, I'm going to say our website is currently under construction still. Be on the lookout for that in early next year. But I do know Scott and his team have all of our upcoming webinars with him on their website, so you can check those out there. I'll include that in the email as well. And for any of our additional sessions that we host, they can always be found on our Facebook page in the meantime. So I'll include that in the follow-up email as well. So I'll hand it over to Scott and we'll get started.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan, and good morning. Thank you for joining us for our website audit checklist for 2024. I'll be sharing my screen, so one moment while I pull that up. All right, Jordan, just confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, again, welcome. Today's webinar is actually a new topic that Jordan and I developed. We thought this would be a good one to end the year with. So you are joining us for our final webinar of the year. So we do want to thank the SBDC for making this, and all of our community partners for making this webinar possible today and free. Can't beat that. We've partnered with the SBDC over a number of years to provide the community with a series of free marketing topics, and we discuss everything from email design, website design, branding, search engine optimization, and more. And we thought this would be a good one as, you know, it gets a little slower in the year. So just kind of pause and evaluate your own website. So I want to give you some tips and tricks on what to look for when you're evaluating your own website as we go into 2024. Now is a good time to do that. So again, we want to thank the SBDC and our local community partners. As Jordan mentioned, if you would like a PDF of today's webinar, you can visit our website at claninmarketing.com/workshops. Just scroll to the middle of the page and you're going to see a For Attendees section. Just fill out your name and email address, and again, you'll get a PDF copy of today's presentation. As Jordan mentioned, on our website, just last week, we released the Q1 2024 webinar series. So the first set of webinars over the first quarter are a little more focused in the world of social media and digital marketing. So if you're interested in how to maybe improve some of your strategies on Facebook, on Instagram, developing Instagram Reels, certainly check out our schedule for that. As we go into then Q2 and Q3 of next year, I would bet we're going to fold back in a lot of those website-specific topics. So today we're going over, again, the checklist, things to keep in mind. But really, as with all of my webinars, we could spend all day just really on one slide. We do have workshops in our library that highlight some of the specific topics that we're talking about today. We have one just about website design itself, just about search engine optimization, or your Google My Business listing. So keep an eye on those for Q2, Q3 of next year. Again, the first quarter is going to be a little more focused on social media. So again, my name is Scott. I'm the owner of Clanin Marketing. We're a full-service marketing creative agency based in downtown Champaign, and we serve clients all across the Midwest, everything from brand development, video production, graphic design services, digital consulting, public relations, and more. But one of the things that we do offer in our kind of Rolodex of services is website design. And we do everything from consultations to third-party template-based sites that we'll talk about in a bit, to full-on custom bespoke websites that are built from the ground up. But a lot of times, part of my job is to evaluate and look at existing websites, right? Either a client is looking to make a complete change, maybe they're rebranding, they just want a new site for the new year. It's good to look at what you currently have. I think for a lot of us, there may be some of you on the call that you're just starting off and you're not quite sure where to start, but what are some things to keep in mind before you get started? And others on the call, we may already have a website that's been up and running, but a lot of times, even myself, we put the website up, but we might forget about it. We may not touch it for a while, and so it's really good to spend some time and go through each one of your pages, go through the metrics, see how people are using your site, so then you can constantly make small improvements to keep your site up with your organization. Maybe your organization has grown over the years, and keep your site up with overall design trends. You don't want your website to look too outdated. So again, I'm going to be giving you all those tips and tricks today. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to go over just the importance of a website audit. I'm going to look at some design trends for 2024. So if you've missed one of our last webinars was just about website design. We did cover a little bit of the trends in that one as well. We're going to dive through those again today. Improving user experience. A good website is not just about design, but it's about how someone uses the website. So I want to go over some user experience tips. Enhancing your search engine optimization strategy. This is a question I get asked all the time, is how do I rank better on the search engines? And that is all dependent on the overall design of your website. So we're going to be talking about those in a bit. And then I'm going to leave you with our website audit checklist. Be sure to take notes during the presentation today. I do have a few things that I didn't include on here that I'll just kind of provide. Hey, look at this website for this resource, etc. So have a pen and paper handy as well. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So why audit your website, right? You obviously should know the importance of that. That's why you're on the call today. But there's a variety of different things to keep in mind when you are looking at your website. One of them is just maintaining relevance. Trends evolve. Things that I designed on the website 5-6 years ago, I may not put on a website today. Even on our website, there are certain sections that I'm like, ooh, I should probably rework that a bit, right? We haven't touched it. We haven't really visited it in a while. And that's another thing too. After you build a website, if you're not making constant updates like a blog, creating blog articles on your website, there's really no need for you as the business owner to necessarily go to the website very often. But make sure you do at least once a quarter. Just take a peek at your website, see if anything's broken. Just look at overall design, but you want to make sure you're maintaining your relevance online. Trends evolve, user expectations change, so regular audits help you keep your website content and design aligned with current trends. Optimizing performance. So, a well-optimized website not only enhances user experience, but contributes to better search engine ranking. So what do I mean by that? Search engine optimization, if you've attended our SEO webinar, you know that there's so many things that affect SEO. I wish it was just 2 things and it was super easy to do. You do those on the back end and now your website ranks high. But there's a lot more to that. So Google ranks your website based off of, could be website speed. It has to do with if your website's mobile friendly. But Google also looks at how people are interacting with your website. So if they're going to your website, they're hitting the website and then immediately leaving, right? Their average duration time on your website is very low. Google sees that and they're going to think, something isn't quite right with this website. Our visitors aren't really finding what they're looking for when they go to this website. let's not rank it as high. At the end of the day, when we use Google, we're a customer of Google. And I would say 95, 98% of us on the call probably all use Google for our search engine. And we continue to go back to Google. Why? Because we always find what we're looking for in the top 3 to 4 search results. It's because they have their algorithm down. They want to send us to a relevant site that they know we will have a good user experience on. It has a lot of keywords on there. Other people have typically found what they're looking for. Good average length of time. It loads quickly. It renders well on a mobile device. There's so many different things that Google looks for. So we want to look at, again, the user experience on your site. We want to look to see, are people dropping off on your website? Is it taking too long to load? Maybe you have a lot of videos, you have a lot of high quality photos on your website. Maybe they need to be compressed a bit. And we're going to talk about that here in a bit. I'm going to give you some tips on some tools and programs to use to help optimize and compress maybe some of your images. But when we're talking about user experience today, yes, it's how someone interacts and flows through your website, which then helps improve SEO rankings over time. So just keep that in mind. User trust and engagement. Again, we want an updated site to instill a sense of trust, right? We don't want to go to a site that takes forever to load. We've all been to those sites where it just takes a second or two longer than we're normally used to load, and we start thinking, what's wrong, right? Some red flags start going off. SEO health checks. Again, we're kind of going back to the SEO discussion that we just had, but search engines are constantly changing their algorithm. Their algorithm is essentially the computer, the system in place that is in charge of showing us what we see when we do a Google search. Not only showing us, but ranking in a certain order. That's the algorithm. So SEO is constantly changing. I just learned recently that your Google business listing, that verified listing on the right-hand side of Google, where it has like your phone number, website, and all that, for those who are a physical business on the call, that is going to have a huge impact for SEO in the future as Google starts integrating more artificial intelligence tools within their search engine. We'll probably talk about that more in 2024. I kind of talk about this too. We need to make sure it adapts to technological advances. So I've also been getting a lot of questions about artificial intelligence chat systems, or just a human chat system if you want to start chatting with people on your website. Websites are continuing to evolve. We're seeing more and more integrating with chat systems, adding more videos or background videos on your website, adding more animation on your website to kind of bring your website to life. So you want to make sure, again, you're keeping up with a lot of these design trends, which we'll review here in a bit. And data-driven decision making. So I'm a huge advocate of making sure that you're making decisions based off of data, right? We live in a world that we can really pull data from anything anymore. Marketing back in the day, really your form of tracking was mention this ad or bring in this coupon to receive this discount. And then you can track to see how well that strategy worked. But now we can run a report and say, okay, let's look at our website performance over the past quarter. Let's see how many people came to our website from social media who were new first-time users. Compare that to the previous quarter to see if we saw a lift in traffic. One quick example, there's over 200 reports that you can run on Google Analytics. So there's a ton of data at your fingertips. So Google Analytics, if you're taking notes, is a program I certainly recommend. We do have a webinar in our library, so keep an eye out for that maybe during Q2 or Q3 of 24. It's a free tool from Google that you can connect to your website that gives you every metric that you would want to run. Where people came from, how long they spent on your site, maybe what blogs, what pages are most popular, where people are dropping off. Some of you may be using template-based websites like Squarespace or Wix. those are still excellent websites that provide built-in metrics, and their metrics have gotten a little better over the past couple of years. But I do still recommend looking into Google Analytics, but it won't start collecting data until you install it. So make sure you install it as soon as you can. Even if you don't have time to look at the metrics, at least get it installed. So again, didn't want to spend a ton of time on the importance. You all probably understand the importance of auditing your website. That's why you're on the webinar today. This is now just a great time to just pause, evaluate your current website in the shoes of a visitor, in the shoes of a customer, and look to see where can I make some improvements. So now I want to go over to some design trends that we're seeing. Now, some of these trends maybe started coming out a couple years ago that we're still seeing an uptick in people implementing these on their websites. What's nice too is that if you are using a template-based website like Squarespace or Wix or GoDaddy, a lot of those have pre-built templates that you can select from, go in and start making some changes, colors, fonts, your logo, etc. One thing to keep in mind before we go into design trends is it's really important to make sure that you have your brand set and established before you start evaluating and making changes to your website. We've worked with a number of clients where they want this website, they start adding these pages, but there's no brand guideline. We don't know how to use the colors, how to use the font, and then just the cohesiveness, the consistency of the overall look of the website starts falling apart a bit. And when you land on the website, you want to have a very seamless experience, and not only navigation-wise, but design-wise as well. You don't want to overload someone with different types of fonts and sizes and colors. That goes back to just trust. Someone may land on the website and think, this isn't what I'm looking for. This doesn't look like them. Am I even on the right website? So keep that in mind as you're going through your own website. Make sure you do have your brand set and established. So let's go through some overall design trends that we're starting to see for this year and next year. Sites continue to be bold and colorful. So using bold and colorful backgrounds and text to capture attention, spotlight various elements, again, will overall just help increase the look and strength of your website. I'm starting to tell clients when it comes to websites, less is more. So a lot of times people want to provide a ton of copy. Now, a ton of copy still works depending on what kind of website you have. If you're an informational website, resource website, you obviously need to make sure you provide a lot of copy. But anymore, we live in a world where our attention spans are very, very short, right? We're starting to watch these TikToks and Reels that are only seconds long before we start scrolling. We want information very quickly, and we don't have time to wait around or read. And so when you're thinking of your website, really go through the copy. And if you see when you land on the website, you have paragraph upon paragraph of text, right? When you land on, I don't know if anyone would want to read that, to be honest, right? So think about, put yourself in the shoes of a customer, especially if you go on your phone. Go to your website on your phone and scroll. And if you're just scrolling past a ton of copy with no visual elements, no breaks to help break that content up into digestible chunks, right, when we're reviewing it, it may be too overwhelming. Illustrations, videos, and photos. So a little kind of rule of thumb, people will typically remember 10% of what they hear, 20% of what they read, and 80% of what they see and do. So we are very much creatures of taking in content that's more of a visual experience, right? We don't want to read a ton. And so that's why we're seeing more people put up videos on their website, little testimony videos, overview videos that do a lot of storytelling in 30 seconds to a minute. Really cool illustrations. I'm going to give you some examples of illustrations from Wix, for example. But you want to make it a really fun and interactive, engaging website. Again, if I land on a website that's just maybe one picture at a top and a ton of copy, you might see that, hey, people aren't spending as long as you'd like them to on the website. Again, you can get the average duration length on Google Analytics. Animation. So this is a big thing that I've seen grow in popularity over the past couple of years. And that's as I'm scrolling through your site, maybe certain content starts appearing from the left and right of your screen, right? Some stuff maybe animates in, it fades in, it kind of animates up. It lifts the website, it brings the website to life. It's not all just static and flattened on the page. There's some motion to it, and that makes it a little fun, engaging, and interactive on your site. Large homepage image or video banners. This is something that came out a number of years ago that we're starting to see people integrate more and more into the website. Right when you land on the website, right? There's something called above the fold and below the fold. So think back in like old newspaper days, right? You get a newspaper, you can still see me on your screen, but you get a newspaper delivered and it would be folded in half. And so anything above the fold is what that newspaper publication would, the most important information they would put right there above the fold. And then as you open the paper, you will then continue to read. But they wanted to make sure, especially on display stands back in the day when you got a newspaper, all the important information was right above that fold to capture attention right away. Same principle is used for website design. Right when you land on the website, you still have what we call a fold line. That is everything that you see before you start scrolling. So think about what you want to get across in the few seconds you have their attention when a user lands on the website. So a lot of times what we're seeing right above the fold is a full width, large, high quality image. And maybe that image rotates or fades nicely into another one, but you have some maybe bold typography above that. Maybe it's some sort of tagline. It's who you are. It's a welcome statement with a couple of call to action buttons underneath, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Or it's a looping B-roll video. So we're about to design a website for a client in January who's a printing company. And what they want to do is right when you land on the website, they want to open with some behind the scenes shots of their employees working with the printing presses in action and papers coming out. Immediately, what I love about that is right when you land on the site, it captures my attention. I see behind the scenes of what's happening at that business. And again, that's one of their differentiators. Working with a local printing company, you're working with real people who's working on your actual project, whereas some of the big box, like Vistaprint, for example, it's more of a corporate big box printing experience. So they want to lean into what makes them different. And I think opening with a really cool background video is going to be great. So think about that as you're going through your own website. I wanted to kind of show some examples, just kind of bring some of these concepts to life a bit. On the left here, this is actually a template, believe it or not. The Dean and Brooks, I'm looking at top left. So what you see is, and again, this is one of the newer templates that came out. I believe this is through, I want to say maybe Squarespace. This is a template in Squarespace. But what I love about this is you have the logo on the top left, and you have your navigation there on the top right. As you open onto the website, definitely above the fold, you have this full width image, taking your business to the next level. So that's one of their little tagline, their little statements, opening statements that they want to get across right when you land on their website. And then on the right-hand side, you see this area for, we call just, right now it's just filler text. I have a paragraph, click here to add your own text. Again, this is a template, so they're going to help you throughout this process to add in your own content. But look at the hierarchy here, right? Right when you land on the page, you see this woman in a field, okay? You then look, we read left to right, big bold text there in a really cool serif font. That serif font goes back to your branding. This establishes a sense of trust. Serif fonts have been around forever. It's a little more classy, a little more buttoned up. And then you go over to a little bit of explanation text here. So this is all laid out in a way where they want you to read in a certain order, and they are doing that through hierarchy of text and overall layout. You then have your call to action button, read more. And then as you scroll in, you get to a new, what we call strip section. Looking at the screenshot bottom right, this is a little different. This is also a template, but this starts breaking the mold a bit with how certain things are laid out. And this is a trend that I'm starting to see more and more, where I think one phrase they start calling this is like scrapbooking, where things are kind of laid out in kind of any way, but there's no grid at all. It's just maybe a little bit of overlapping text, etc. Um, right when you land on, you see that really big, bold, beautiful text there, that CASA, and then you have a little explanation text above. On the right-hand side, you see another one. This is for local photographer Sweet Lemonade. Again, you land on the site, full width image here. Let's capture joyful moments, that opening statement, joyful in a really cool script font that goes with other scripts that she's using for her brand. And as you scroll down the site, you go into these other script sections. I'm Heather. When life handed me a lemon, I picked up a camera. And then that goes into her storytelling a bit about who she is as a photographer. Implementing a little bit of those punches of yellow for the brand, and then you go into those other strip sections. You see we have some vertically oriented text. Some of the text and some of that circle badge does overlap on top of other sections there, but overall, a pretty nice, clean, branded experience. Other templates that I found that I really enjoyed, on the right-hand side, this is a poke restaurant, quality products, Hawaiian flavors. So again, they have their logo, they have the little branded statement there, open daily for takeout delivery. What do we want people to do right when we land on the website? In this case, they want people to order online. And so that's why their call to action, not only in the middle of the page, and that blue box is order online, but the top right is order online as well. We then scroll into a really beautiful, bright kind of yellow color with this kind of paragraph. Again, that paragraph you can add and adjust your own text. And on the right-hand side, this is more of an e-commerce store template. What I like about this is that they're breaking the mold just a little bit. It's not a full width image. They actually broke it up into two. A very large image on the left, smaller image on the right, and then center line to help anchor everything. You have Anna Stone and Judd introducing the capsule collection. Their call to action, shop now. As you continue to scroll, they give you some more prompts to these titles, explore the collection, and then they have their different products down there. Just some other examples that I really liked. As you look at the one on the left-hand side, it's a little blurry, but we're seeing that bold typography, right? Grand Canyon. It's laid out in a way to where the rock formation kind of comes a little bit above the A in Canyon, which is really cool. Some other marketing text below it. On the right-hand side, we're starting to see, again, this is a great example of white space. Focus on a product image, what we're calling organic shapes behind it, a little punch of maybe the brand green, and then look at the hierarchy of text, that bold typography, the platform that makes more possible. Android is the world's most popular mobile platform, et cetera, et cetera. So this is great, and this is very, very simple. Now, if I was to write this copy out on a document, we're only looking at 3 short sentences. So you might be thinking, how is 3 sentences going to fill up a whole section of the website? That's where design comes into play. So if you aren't very strong with overall design, these templates will help you. They have the design laid out for you. Think about what you can plug into some of those areas. Again, while there's only 3 short sentences here, it looks like there's so much more because of the hierarchy and size of the bold text, the imagery, etc. This was an example of a text-only, what we're calling hero image. So right when you land on the website, typically that image is what we call your hero image. This is one where they're just leaning into a certain font that they're using. And then this kind of opening statement as the opening statement to the website. We're a multi-award winning photography agency, et cetera, et cetera. So you have their branded yellow here. See what we do as their call to action. And as you continue to scroll, I'm sure it kind of talks a little more about their company. So instead of an image, they just wanted to open with a really bold, maybe this is their branded color. I hope this is their branded color. And then they want to point you over to their work page. That's what their call to action is. This one here, custom illustrations. So we'll talk about, on the next slide, I have an example of some custom illustrations that you can pull from a template. This is Smashmallow. I think they're like gourmet marshmallows. I didn't even know that existed. I guess there's a market for everything. So Lunchbox Love, the perfect treat to snack and pack. And then they have their call to action in that rounded, what we call that pill button there. But what's really cool here, they have their brand elements in the header. They have that light blue, the brown color there, that kind of aqua color as some of the other titles. But as you land on the site, instead of a full width image, it's actually a really cool illustration. So if you do have some money to spend and you want your own custom illustrations, there are certainly, even within the Champaign County market, there are some incredible designers that do work like this, just custom illustrations, or there are some really cool built-in illustrations and artworks and icon within Wix, and I believe some in Squarespace. What's really cool with the ones in Wix is I can look through, these are just some examples. If I was to click more icons on the right-hand side, it would pull up so many other icons. But what's really nice within here is that I can pick an icon. Let's say I want to pick that the airplane icon on the lower right-hand side above more icons. While it's in that green color, I can change that color to whatever color I want. Maybe I have the color code to my exact branded blue, and then I can change the icon so it looks custom, but again, you're using out-of-the-box features. Again, all these little icons and elements and illustrations help lift the site a bit, add another visual element to keep people engaged on your website. Okay, so those are some overall design trends. Again, if you're using a template-based website, they've done the work for you. These websites now are also starting to use a little bit of artificial intelligence. That's something Jordan and I are going to keep an eye on for next year, as we start seeing artificial intelligence be applied to more and more marketing tools, and one of them being these website builders. I've played around with it a little bit. I think it still has a little bit to go in terms of development. But basically, with some of these tools, you just kind of explain what your website's about, answer some questions, some prompts, and then artificial intelligence can design a website for you. So that is the future. It's crazy. We want to talk about improving user experience. And again, at the end, I do have your checklist, but I thought it'd be good to kind of walk through these elements before we get to a checklist to really kind of explain, here are the things that we really look for when we are auditing websites. And outside of course, making sure you have an established brand, making sure you're looking at trends, you want to look at user experience. The last thing I'll mention before we dive into here, going back to just trends. Anytime we're designing a website, we give clients homework, and I want to give you some homework. Look at inspiration websites. Look at websites that you really like on your mobile phone. Look at websites that you like on your desktop device. What do you like about the website? Is it the imagery? Is it the size of text? Look at your competitor's website. You never want to copy, right? But you can take inspiration. You can take certain elements that you're like, ooh, that animation effect is really cool. Or I really like how they displayed these items here. Anytime that if you're working with a developer, they will probably want you to look at and provide some inspiration, so then we as designers know at least what direction you're thinking, and then how can we infuse that with your existing brand. Okay, so let's take a look at improving overall user experience. The one thing to really think about is your navigation. Thinking back to one of the earlier slides, we were talking about less is more. Same thing with navigation. Navigation menus at the top used to be filled with so many different options. But anymore, we're seeing navigations be cut down to maybe only 3 or 4 options with, of course, drop-down menus. So I was just talking to Jordan before everyone jumped on about a website that we're designing for the University of Illinois. And this website is huge. They had, I think, 300 some pages on their website. And I think we're condensing that down to maybe a little over 100. But even when there's a little over 100 pages on the website, guess how many pages they will have in their primary navigation? 4. So what we did was an exercise, and this is something that you could do yourself, you could do with some of your team members, but when we're thinking of intuitive navigation, and what we're talking about here is just streamlining your website's navigation by organizing content logically, using clear menu labels, etc. We did a post-it exercise where we just had a huge sheet of paper on the wall, and we started writing out each post-it the individual pages on the website, the current website. And then we started thinking, how can we group these together? Actually, these two post-its here, these two pages, could be condensed on one page, so that cuts down a page. So this exercise really helped us evaluate, okay, what needs to be in the primary navigation? Some of you may even have a very small navigation above primary navigation, maybe up in the header. So maybe you have a little about page or careers page way at the very top, and then you still have your main navigation bar. So you could do a little exercise maybe with you and your team to think about, let's evaluate all the pages on our website and maybe rework this a bit. But to start, just pull up your phone and navigate through your website. I've done this with many brands before where I go to their website, I'm trying to find something, and it takes me forever to find what I'm looking for. And there are times where I'm like, oh, I wish I could just sit down with either the owner of the business or the webmaster and be like, okay, how about you try it and see how many steps it takes to get to the page that you're looking for this example. What you really want to do is you want to cut down on the number of clicks, the number of pages someone has to go through to get to an end result. So try to condense things down and group things together that make sense. That makes it very easy for someone to navigate. So just take some time and play around with your own website. If you offer different products and services, go through each one of those products and services as that consumer. Okay, I want more information about blank. Now find it on the website. How long does this take me? Do I get lost? I think for a lot of us, if you're more in the small to mid-sized businesses, we probably don't have a lot of pages. But again, if you're auditing, now would be a good time to just go through your primary navigation. Mobile responsiveness, you want to make sure that your website is rendering well on mobile devices. The one thing, use Google's mobile-friendly test tool. So if you're taking notes, just go to Google and type in mobile-friendly test, and it will scan your website if your website is mobile-friendly. Anymore, though, a lot of times if you are using template-based sites, they automatically give you a mobile-friendly experience. But just make sure if you are editing your website in like Wix, for example, you are also editing the mobile version of your website. So Wix will automatically generate a mobile version of your website, but 90% of the time, things are off a bit. So they haven't gotten it exactly right, where you have to maneuver and change things around so it aligns well on mobile. Optimize page speed. So if you see that your pages are taking, oh gosh, longer than 3, 4, 5 seconds to load, what can we do to condense that? So if you have a lot of high quality images on your website, look at the site called TinyPNG. It's a great resource that our developers use to take high quality images, run them through that program. It compresses it without losing too much quality. And now you can upload that page, or I'm sorry, that photo onto your website. Other thing to think about is just overall accessible design. So accessibility benefits everyone. Ensure your website is inclusive by providing alternative text for images, using descriptive link text, and making navigation easy for users with disabilities. So I wanted to provide a quick little example of what I'm talking about here. The one thing is called descriptive link text. So this is a little do not example. Visit the UCOP Electronic Accessibility website to learn more about accessibility. Click here. We've all seen that. We've all done this before, right? Because I think this is just how things were back in the day. You click here, it's straightforward. But anymore, best practice when it comes to website design, we want to make sure we kind of spell certain things out. This also helps with search engine optimization in addition to accessibility. So no longer do we want to say click here and then hyperlink that. We want to hyperlink the words or phrases to whatever we're being shown in a new tab. So visit the UCOP Electronic Accessibility. That right there is hyperlinked. Website to learn more about accessibility. So that's what we're talking about hyperlinking descriptive text on your website. The other one is called alt text. So alt text is great for, again, accessibility, because those who are visually impaired have screen readers, and those screen readers will read to the user what is on that page. And so anymore, I mean, I think it's starting to change a little bit. AI programs can start identifying what's in a photo, but we want to be putting alt text behind an image. And a lot of times websites will have a whole field that says what's in this image, or provide your alt text here. And then I just put plate of vegetables with dip. And so that's what that image was. The other thing too, and I think we'll talk about that here in a bit, let me go back, is image file names. Again, I think this is coming up in a second here, but when you upload an image to your website, a lot of times that image is like image475.png.com. Doesn't make sense, but it came from your phone, it came from a camera, it just renders a file name automatically for you. That provides 0 SEO value on your website. So you want to make sure that you change that to photo of red barn in country, or red barn. Because if I go to Google and type in red barn and go to images, what am I going to see? Images of a red barn. Now, if I was to right click and save that image on my computer, you'll see that all of them have red-barn in all of the image file names. Same thing on your website. So if you have a headshot of yourself, headshot of Scott Clanin, or Scott Clanin headshot.jpg.png. That provides more SEO value, more keywords on the back end of your website. So that's a little trick there. So look at that as you're auditing your own website. Engaging content layout. So again, when you're looking at overall user experience, going back to the example of, oh gosh, if I go to a page that just has paragraph upon paragraph of text, unless if it's like a blog and that makes sense for you to do, you want to break things up into smaller chunks, strip sections. Clear call to actions, and we'll talk about call to actions here in a bit. What do you want people to do when they're on your website? I've audited a lot of websites over the past couple of years, and a lot of times I find that there's no call to action. It's purely an informational website, and here's our contact form if you want to contact us. But we want to give people, we want to push them to perform something on the website. So for example, on our page, when we review a project, we highlight a project in what we're calling a case study. At the very bottom of the case study, we always have, like what you see, contact us to get started on your next project. That's a call to action. Maybe you want people to sign up for a newsletter. That would be a call to action. So really think about, and it's good to have different call to actions throughout the website, and it's all about where you strategically place that. So let's talk about call to actions here real quick. So again, it tells the user to take a specific action. It's typically a sign up, buy now, learn more, etc. A couple of screenshots here. Inbound.org and Cooks, you see their call to action is signing up for the inbound one. That button, start growing now. Cooks is a pop-up here. They want you to sign up for the free cooking newsletter. And the little incentive here, receive expert cooking advice. Sometimes it's also promotional codes as well. Put in your email, send me my free newsletter. You want to make sure that it does contrast. So the button is of a different color on top of whatever other color you're putting it on. This goes back to your brand standards. You might have multiple call to actions. So this is a baby list registry. Create your baby list or find a registry. Great example for that bottom left one is they really know who their audience is. And their audience for this website is actually 2 different groups of people. Expecting parents that want to create a baby list, and loved ones who are looking to purchase something off of a registry. So their website, right when you land on the homepage, again, that full width image, hierarchy of text here, put anything onto your baby registry, that big, bold opening statement, and then your 2 call to actions here for your 2 different audiences. Pick a wish, again, the newsletter here, that sign up front and center right when you land on their website. So again, think about call to actions, evaluate call to actions, or Look to see if you even have call to actions on your website. Maybe you don't. And if you don't, think about what is your end goal? What do you want people to do when they're on their website? Maybe you want to capture leads. Newsletter would be great for that. Maybe you want someone to call you. We have some clients that they would rather have someone call than email. Great. Put a hyperlinked phone number front and center on the website, or call now button on the website. Okay, I can't believe we only have about 15 minutes left, but I do want to zip through the next section here and then, of course, go over the checklist. This is enhancing search engine optimization strategies. There's a few things that we want you to look at when you are looking at your website, auditing your own website. But again, Jordan and I will definitely roll out an SEO webinar sometime in Q2, Q3 next year, so be sure to join us for that. Whole webinar just dedicated to SEO. This is just a little bit of the tip of the iceberg, but things to look at, evaluate when you are looking at your own website. This one, the first one's very simple, but you really want to make sure that your website content speaks to the people viewing the website. Very straightforward. But a lot of times I've seen clients write in a way that they're like, well, this is what I would like. It's like, well, actually, even though you own the business, you're not the target customer. You don't fit within the customer persona of your target customers. And this content doesn't really speak to the person you need it to speak to. So go through your content. Does your website speak to the person that you want to take a certain action on your website? Local SEO strategies. So for those of you on the call who have a physical presence, make sure that you've claimed your business on Google Business Listing. That's that listing on the right-hand side of Google that I was talking about earlier. Very easy process. You have to just record a short video. Google will give you some prompts of what to record in that video. And then Google says, yep, this is a legitimate business. You can then ask for reviews, add photos, adjust your hours, etc. But this, just having that alone, in addition to your website, is going to help improve your overall SEO, your local SEO strategies. Okay, the big one out of all the SEO slides, this is the one I want everyone to look at today or soon if you evaluate your website. Meta titles and meta descriptions. If you use a template-based website, a lot of times there's a whole field in your SEO settings that you can set this in, but a lot of times people forget to set this. This is what shows up on Google. And a lot of times people don't realize that, oh my gosh, I can customize that? Yes, you can. And if you don't, Google will come up with one for you, but it's not always really what we want to put here. Your meta title is what you see there in that purple one. So I just took a screenshot of ours and then that meta description. So meta title, you want to put your company name, but for us, we put Clanin Marketing, Graphic and Web Design, Marketing and Digital, there's ... And then there's a little more to that says Champaign, Illinois. And then in the description, we put Marketing, Graphic Design Company in Champaign, specializing in digital marketing, communications, website design, et cetera, et cetera. We're adding keywords into both the title and the description. Keywords and products and services that we offer, keywords and where we're located for local search. If someone types in, okay, marketing Champaign, we want to make sure we show up. So think about that for your own meta titles and descriptions. Are you putting a location in there? If location matters for your SEO ranking, are you adding some rich keywords in here? And have you set this for all the different pages on your website, which can be tailored? You have a separate meta title for your About Us page. Add a little one-liner for your description for the About Us page or a blog page. What should someone expect on your blog page? That's what you would write in that little meta description. So this not only helps improve user experience if someone is on Google searching around and wanting to find a website relevant to whatever their query was, but it helps the search engines because the search engines will say, hey, this website already, just from the title and description, has a lot of the keywords that this person is looking for. We might rank this higher. So look at that meta title and description. Okay. We already talked about this one. This is the image file name optimization. So as you're auditing your website, make sure to right click or in the back end, look at whatever file name that image is. And can you go ahead and change it? So that's what I would certainly recommend. And if possible, you are updating content on some sort of frequent schedule. Maybe you're adding new blogs. Maybe you're adjusting team bios or just adding some sort of news updates. It doesn't always work for every single website out there, just really dependent on what you're currently offering. But Google likes to see this. They like to see fresh content on websites. This certainly helps with overall search engine optimization. Okay, we have about 10 minutes here. I want to actually go over, now that we've kind of covered a little more in depth some of these key elements, right? We talked about your brand, overall website trends, user experience, really looking at that navigation, thinking about user flow, your call to actions, and then SEO. Now let's kind of go over the quick checklist of things to keep in mind when you're doing a self-audit. One, you want to make sure that your website is mobile responsiveness. So test your site's mobile responsiveness by using tools like Google's mobile-friendly test, and verify that all content is accessible and displays correctly on mobile devices. Does it go off the screen a little bit? Do the buttons work? Go through every page you can on a mobile device and see how it's performing. Content quality and relevance, you want to make sure that you review the just overall quality of content that you're putting on the website. Is it outdated? I have a couple pages on my own website that I know we probably need to remove, that they're starting to age a bit. It's not really helping us in terms of marketing. It just looks a little older. And those are things that I need to take some time over the winter here to go through and make some changes. Does it align with your user's intent? Does it incorporate relevant keywords? A lot of times when we're doing audits, we find that, gosh, the organization, this company has really grown, but their website hasn't grown with them. They offer this whole product or service that's not even reflected on the website. Has your business grown over the years? And the website maybe hasn't kept up with that. Are you not really including a lot of the keywords you need to be including on your website? So look at overall content quality and relevance across all the pages on your website. Make sure that you have your meta titles and descriptions set. They're unique, they're compelling, they include relevant keywords. Make sure they're not too long. Again, Google or your website builder will help provide like a character limit for you. Image optimization, this is a big thing too. If possible, try to use your own custom stock photography. If there's room in the budget, work with a local photographer and take your own images. Exterior shots of your place of business, interior shots, product photos, behind the scenes, headshots. It just elevates the look of your website tremendously. Now, if you don't have room in the budget to find images, you don't want to just pull images from Google. We've actually seen some photographers have hired lawyers to do a reverse search and find places online that are using a photo without permission and then sending them a letter from the lawyer. And we don't want that. No one wants that, right? So if you don't have a ton of money and you don't want to spend money on like a stock library like Adobe Stock or Shutterstock, use Unsplash, unsplash.com, or Pixels, PEXELS.com. Those are commercial license-free libraries. But as you're going through your website, look at the images, review image file names, look at the keywords maybe that you're putting in the file names for those images, check and improve alt text for images, and if possible, compress images to optimize page loading speed. Again, the program that I like using is Tiny PNG. Again, Tiny PNG. As you're auditing your website, really go through your navigation. Look at all the drop downs. The other thing to think about too, as you're looking at navigation, some of you may have certain areas of your site where you are pointing someone to another section, another website, like a resource. Try to open a new tab. Adjust your settings to where if someone clicks on a link that they're leaving your website, open in a new tab so where they don't actually have to leave your website. Your website is still open in the tab, but they don't actually leave it completely. Look at site accessibility, proper use of headers, the alt text. Test all of your forms on both desktop and mobile. Look at your buttons. Try to test some animation. If you put in some animation, how does that render on those different mobile devices? And look at social media integration. Verify that your social media buttons are still working. I've audited a lot of sites where the social icons in the bottom are broken. Maybe that you've embedded some feeds, some social media live feeds on your website. A lot of times those end up broken as well. The other thing too, this kind of goes beyond just a website audit, but more of a brand audit, right? When you're looking at your website, you want to make sure your brand is established, but also look at, okay, we have this whole great design on our website. Does that design translate over to social media? Are we using certain colors and fonts in some of our social media graphics to create a very cohesive experience between your website and your social media accounts? A couple more things, and then be sure if you have any questions to start asking those in the chat so Jordan can read me those. Take some time to either turn on any type of two-factor authentication, strengthen or change some of your passwords as you go into the new year. That would be great. SSL certificates, if you use a third-party template site like Wix or Squarespace, they already provide this security certificate for you, so you don't need to worry about that. And regularly back up your website. Again, template-based websites do this for you, but if you're on a program like or platform like WordPress, you may need to look at other tools or work with your developer to take maybe monthly backups of your website, excuse me, should something happen and your website comes down. Excuse me. And then finally, analytics and data insights. When you're going through your website in the shoes of a consumer, customer, visitor, do it through your desktop, do it through your mobile. But once you go through the site and look at things on the front end, take some time to look at how people are using your website on the back. And you might see some really interesting trends. Busy times of the year, is that where maybe you can start adjusting some copy or imagery out during some of those busy times. Page load time is very long. What can we do to maybe compress some of those images? Bounce rate, that's where people go to your website and then immediately leave. That tells me maybe we need to rework the homepage a bit, add some more compelling copy, really cool visuals to capture their attention and keep their attention on your website. So really take some time to look at some of those back-end metrics, to look at some of those Google Analytics reports on the back end. And then finally, I want to leave you with a couple of resources. Google Search Central, if you're really interested in learning all about SEO and how Google ranks your website and what you should do so Google can rank your website better, check out Google Search Central. Google Analytics, again, that free metric reporting tool, and then Google Business Profile. We talked a little bit about that. That's your listing on the right-hand side that kind of connects. Of course, you want it to connect with your website, so you have that little website button there, but this does certainly help improve local search engine ranking. Again, that's your Google Business Profile. All three of these are free to use. Excellent. So I know that was a ton to cover in just about 45 minutes here. I really want to thank you for jumping on. I hope you found some information useful as you're going through your own website. Again, just take a moment. You don't need to speed through it. Go through each page, read every bit of copy, test every button, test every form, look at some of the things that we talked about on the back end, and constantly look at inspiration site. Look at some of the design trends that are coming out. Bookmark, screenshot certain things that capture your attention, and think about how do we maybe infuse that into my website as you're looking into the new year. So again, I'll hand it over to Jordan, see if we have any questions, and we'll go from there.
Thank you so much, Scott. We don't have any questions submitted right now, but I do want to remind everyone that you will get a recording of today's session, so you can go back and revisit the information. If something comes to mind, please feel free to reach out to our office. I can always connect with Scott on something and get back to you. I do want to note too, we do have a program with Scott and his team going on right now, which is essentially a website audit for SBDC clients. So if you implement these tools that Scott shared today and maybe feel a little overwhelmed or think, I've got it the best that I think I can do, I'd like someone else to look over and things like that, please note you can apply for that program. Like I said, it's no cost to SBDC clients. So I'll include that information in the follow-up email as well. but my suggestion would be to, try to implement these tools that Scott shared today, and then always circle back if you do need additional assistance on that as well.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you very much for jumping on. I hope to see you during our webinars for 2024. We certainly have a lot of great topics lined up, including, again, one in-person one at the Champaign Public Library, all about making Instagram Reels. So we have a great lineup for you. I hope you have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.